Hello, this is chapter 1, video 1 for anatomy and physiology. So we are starting with the question, what is life? And we're going to eventually come up with 7 properties of life. But before we do that, we're going to categorize objects, matter, based on abiotic or biotic. So if we had the prefix a in front of something, it means the opposite. So biotic means it was living or once living material. Abiotic means it is not living or derived from living material. So something like cotton fiber, well, cotton was once a living plant, so cotton fiber would be considered biotic origins, but something like a crystal of quartz is abiotic. It was not derived from living material. Of course, we're studying the human body. The human body is biotic. So what makes something alive? The first thing that we're going to have is we have some kind of organization within the biotic material. And for our purposes, that means it's made out of cells. So we could have a one-celled organism, but we could also have multicellular organisms. And this organization scheme for multicellular organisms has some hierarchy. So we're going to start with chemicals, and we're going to draw a line underneath there because this is where the boundary is between abiotic and biotic. So a chemical on itself cannot really exist. It does not share the other characteristics. But if we put chemicals together in a certain way, we end up with a cell. And a cell, like a bacterial cell, can be biotic, or it is biotic. If we put cells together, we end up with a tissue. So a tissue is just specific cell types together to carry out a specific function. Different tissues can be organized and give us an organ. So if we have some smooth muscle tissue, some epithelial tissue, some connective tissue, we could end up with something like the stomach. And then if organs come together to carry out a very large task, like the stomach, the small intestine, the large intestine, we can consider that an organ system. So they're working towards a common goal. And if we take all these organ systems together, we end up with an organism. So this is the biotic realm. This is the abiotic realm. So the dash tells us where the separation is. So some things are only at this level of organization, and that's fine. It would still be considered alive. The second characteristic is metabolism. So living organisms take in and transform energy. So the sum of all the reactions is metabolism, but it is taking in and transforming energy that is the sum of all the reactions in a living organism. Number 3, you have to have the ability to reproduce. So last chapter we went over how cells can reproduce through the processes of mitosis, meiosis, and cytokinesis. There's some form of responsiveness. So they respond to their environment that they exist in. Some things can respond a lot easier than others. A tree can respond to light by growing in a certain direction or growing towards the light. But if an organism that is able to move can move to where there is light, a tree cannot move. So movement is not really a function of life, but responsiveness is a better answer. Growth and development. Number 6 is evolve over time. And this is mutation driven. So in those processes of cells dividing, especially the gametes, the sperm and egg cell, whenever we have mutations in humans, remember that that first cell, all the other cells come from, it's a stem cell. So we end up with that mutation being prevalent in every cell in the body, potentially. And that drives the process of evolution over time. So responsiveness is more of a quicker time period. Evolution takes a lot of time and is driven by mutations. And then our last one is one that we will be looking at all year, and that is homeostasis. Homeostasis means stable internal environment. So living organisms maintain homeostasis or try to maintain it. Our bodies want a stable internal environment. We need a certain pH and we need a certain temperature that we function well in. If we go outside of those parameters, we end up with an issue or issues, and that can either hurt us or eventually it could be lethal. So our bodies have things in it to help maintain homeostasis so we don't end up getting sick. So when we get sick, we are striving to come back towards homeostasis.